Welcome everybody to the World Building preview panel for Lorwyn Eclipsed. My name is Jimmy Wong, and today we have a ton of never before seen cards to show off, including quite the haymaker at the end. And of course, we're gonna be learning about what the world of Lorwyn is all about. But before we get into it, we have some distinguished experts with us today, so please introduce yourselves.
Hi, my name is Neil LaPlante Johnson. I am a senior narrative designer at Wizards of the Coast, and I was the world building lead for Lorwyn Eclipsed.
Hi, my name is Evan Fong, and I've been illustrating for Magic since Theros Beyond Death, and you might know me from cards such as the Mean Tamio that's currently out, or Thieves Guild Enforcer. And I'm really happy to be here with everybody today.
Hey everyone, my name is Sam. I run the YouTube channel Ristic Studies. I make documentaries and video essays about the arts and the history and culture of magic.
Hi, I'm Amy the Amazonian, and I play a ton of Magic, and mostly in Arena. You can find me on YouTube and Twitch under the same name, and I'm really excited about the legends and legendaries of Lorwyn.
So great to be here with you all. Now, Neil, longtime fans might know already about Lorwyn, but a lot has changed in Lorwyn Eclipsed. What's different?
When we last saw Lorwyn, the world was in a pendulum, sort of, switching between day and night and cycles. Now, day and night are occurring at the same time. There are pockets where you have day and night intertwined and kind of grinding against each other. And as those boundaries expand, anybody caught in between is transformed. And if you cross those boundaries, you yourself will be transformed into your alternate Shadowmoor or Lorwyn self.
Very cool. Now, let's, of course, see how that might look on a couple of cards. Commands are back in Lorwyn Eclipsed. Each one lets you choose 2 modes from among 4 options. Sig's command can copy a merfolk, grant lifelink, draw a card, or stun down an opponent's creature. Then there's Bridget's command that can copy a Kithkin, make a 1/1 token, pump a creature, or cause a fight. Yeah!
Ooh.
So we can very clearly see the divide here between the day and night versions. What was the inspiration behind the design and showing these on the cards?
In the original set, everything was kind of similar because you could kind of tell from like the card effects and the backgrounds and like people's expressions who was from Lorwyn and who was from Shadowmoor. But now that people are traveling back and forth, it was really important to us to come up with designs that were visually distinct from people's Lorwyn and Shadowmoor versions.
One of the things that we wanted to do was take characters that you know and use them as kind of a benchmark and say, here's a reintroduction, right? For all these awesome characters and all these awesome kindred typal commands.
This is really cool because the command cards, very famous in Magic's history, are originally from Lorwyn. So this is a great callback.
Striking to me in Sig's command, we see both versions of Sig. There's a blue-white Sig, the blue-black Sig. This is done by Margaret Organ Keene. It's been basically 30 years since we've seen a Margaret card. I'm always curious when there's a legacy artist that comes back to Magic about how that works.
Yeah, so our art director for the set, Deborah Garcia, was so adamant to pull from the myriad of artists who've worked on Magic the Gathering, who've defined its visual identity over 30 years, especially artists that maybe we hadn't worked with in a while. Being able to reach out and say, hey, welcome back, and let's make this a celebration of everything Magic was 18 years ago. And it was just so important that this set felt like classic Magic.
I also love how each of these are so unique, but same. Right, the way that you show the divide is either a stark line down the middle or the way it swirls in Sig's command.
What you're seeing in the main set version is we were actually kind of referencing the card Wheel of Sun and Moon from the original.
Oh, you see it right there in the Bridget's command.
Right, exactly. And we provided artists those references and hey, let's not just get artists from Magic's past, but let's reference cards that people remember fondly. And then so you can see for these booster fund ones, let's get a little more literal. Let's just divide it right down the center and say, what if you could kind of see that mirror self right across the border?
So something I think is really cool about Bridget's command is that it's split into day and night. With the Lorwyn side of the Kithkin, you're building community. You're making copies of your Kithkin, you're making tokens. But then when it becomes night in Shadowmoor, they're empowering a single hero, giving it +3/+3, and fighting things off.
Yeah, you can see this idea that when you turn to your Shadowmoor self, you've changed fundamentally, like this mirror image that you can't control.
Jimmy, if at any point,
Fisticuffs?
it's not me, I promise.
Let's get a ref in here.
It's a different version of me.
Sig and Bridget are obviously iconic characters from OG Lorwyn, but this next card we're gonna see harkens back to another fan favorite character. Let's check it out. Bark of Doran is a 2-mana equipment that lets a creature use its toughness to deal damage in combat.
Doran, yay!
Well, equipment granting the Doran ability is awesome. And it looks like the shield too, which is just perfect.
Doran was another like iconic character for EDH back in the day.
Yeah, it's one of the first cards I learned about when I started playing Commander, yeah.
Yep.
It's the OG Treefolk Commander too.
Yeah.
We did bring him back, and I'm sorry to say that he might have changed.
Oh no.
Oh no.
But it's not always who we are, but sometimes it's what we leave behind. And he's left behind a really cool shield for us to use and cry about, I don't know.
And equipped to our creatures so they can attack with their toughness.
Yeah, when you think about that, you said that's a door ability, right? Or it's a siege tower ability, right?
It's a door ability.
Yeah.
Wow, this set is just chock full with references to the history of Lorwyn and of course the iconic creature types. And we've seen the bark of Doran. I think we're gonna see more tree folk. So let's queue up the next card here. Sapling Nursery is an 8-mana enchantment, but that cost is reduced for each forest you control. Once in play, it makes a 3/4 creature for each land that enters and can be sacrificed to protect your board.
Wow.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Cute.
look at the face on that one.
Cute.
Like at how round they are.
We're all getting older and starting families. I guess this is how you do it in Tree Folk land.
So tree folk are obviously back. What's going on with them this time around?
From the design side for the tree folk, instead of just the broad category of tree folk as a creature type, we wanted to have different subspecies within them.
We kind of wanted to be able to write the words tree folk assassin on the type line and have it make sense this time, which I think was a bold move and it paid off.
Yeah, we did a lot of faces for them, and I think some of them hit really well and some of them were cast off immediately.
Tree folk assassin, so you're just saying like allergy season every time you see that card.
Yeah.
In Shadowmoor, they're way more animalistic, barbaric. They're kind of savage protectors of nature without the kind of thought and wisdom that came with their Lorwyn self.
And this card is just bonkers.
Affinity for
forests? Yeah, that's crazy.
You can bring it down to GG because it's gonna be GG.
Yeah.
I love that.
All right, we've got tree folk. Let's check out another iconic card type. Let's see a Lorwyn elf. Lewin in Perfect Naturalist is an elf who cares about the graveyard. He mills cards when he enters, then lets you discard lands later to harvest an army of worms. Whoa.
Do it.
Whoa, sexy.
You said it.
All right, this is another beautiful illustration. This is Evan Fong at her best. It just so happens that you are here, Evan Fong, at your
perfect.
best.
Yeah.
How perfect.
Imperfect.
Even the palettes align with your outfit today. Can you tell me just a little bit about how you composed this creature?
It was really fun for me to get to work on the elves because the first thing I touched for the set was getting to design the Lorwyn versus Shadowmoor elves, the original concepts, as you can see by my Shadowmoor elf outfit today. So the Lorwyn elves, as you can see an example of here, they're very similar to how they were in the original set. They have the iconic horns, like the wider face shapes, the armor that's inspired by leaves and connecting in very kind of Celtic ways. We kept a lot of the design motifs very similar because we thought they were so strong, but on the other hand, we had to think about how Shadowmoor elves then would be different from the Lorwyn elves. So for the Shadowmoor elves, we decided to use plant motifs as well, but we went with flowers, and especially poisonous flowers from the British Isles and the area that inspired the original Lorwyn set to come up with different color palettes and design motifs that would separate the Lorwyn and Shadowmoor elves. So when you look at the Lorwyn elves, they're very green, but the Shadowmoor elves, on the other hand, are all pastels. They're a little bit more like purpley, dusky colors, and the shapes of the armor and the clothing, as you can see on me today, was inspired by poisonous plants from that area.
Well, your art is flawless. And so is Lewin, and I'm not talking about just how handsome he is.
Right. On the Lorwyn side, they're lovers of beauty in the sense that they kill things or destroy things that aren't beautiful to them. They have a caste system where there's flawless, all the way down to imperfect. In the wake of the Phyrexian invasion, you just got obliterated by an interplanetary foe. Caste systems don't really mean a lot when you're struggling to survive. They still think we're the most beautiful, we should be dominant here. They just don't have the power anymore to exact that. Now, on the Shadowmoor side, they love beauty so much that they're willing to preserve anything and everything. This includes those poisonous plants. So you can see the dichotomy between these species. They both love beauty, but they reflect that in different ways.
You have the internal, external beauty. The Lorwyn elves, they see themselves as the greatest beauty in the world. And then the Shadowmoor elves, they're looking out into nature.
And I would keep an eye out for Lewin. He plays a really important part in the web fiction that you can read on the Wizards of the Coast website right now.
Ah, right.
Speaking of looking out for Lewin, if anyone wants to look out for my Lewin deck after the show, I have already built one.
Custom deck box? Is that you again?
Yeah.
I knew it.
Is it a requirement you build any commander that you pay the art for?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, of
All
course.
right,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
cool.
Cool.
All right, beyond the elves, we have a creature type that is almost exclusive to Lorwyn, the Kithkin. So let's check out a card. Dundulan Weaver is a 2-mana Kithkin that can bring a permanent back from the graveyard as long as you have enough creatures on board. This art is just...
Oh, Kithkin proportions are great. You take a guy, you squish him down, you make him very sideways. I love the wide heads. It's really unique to them.
One of the challenges that we had designing them actually was that in the original Lorwyn block, a lot of the creatures were kind of distinct because of the artistic touch that people had used. So everyone was very stylized, very like pushed, you know? And we wanted to make creature types that looked exactly like the original Lorwyn block, but were repeatable by artists. So we had to come up with the distinct pieces of a Kithkin that we could put together in a manual and be like, here's how you make one. So we were really focused on the wide set eyes, the broad nose bridges, like the kind of long arms.
Okay, but for those that don't know, who are exactly the Kithkin?
Kithkin are defined by their view of community. So Kithkin are bound by this sort of psychic web called the thought web that communicates emotions and feelings and sometimes even thoughts between them. In Lorwyn, they're open and welcoming. Community means anyone can come in. In Shadowmoor, community means the people that I trust are my community. And I don't really trust you unless I know everything about you. So you have no privacy. But Kithkin sort of like it that way in Shadowmoor because that paranoia fuels them. It makes them feel safe.
Well, that's a great transition because we can actually use the Kithkin to see what happens when they switch to their Shadowmoor side. So let's take a look at this next card. Bristlebane Outrider is an evasive 3/5 Kithkin Knight who can grow even larger if another creature has entered this turn. The vibe is different.
It's darker. This is Shadowmoor, but they still have that same community as strength.
Right.
In that first card, the more creatures you had, that's how you got the additional ability. And on this one, whenever a creature enters, it's empowering the Outrider. This is also great to show the scale. That's riding a goat. These are fairly diminutive people.
Right.
I'm all about magic world building. I read a lot of flavor text in my videos. People fall asleep to them. There's another beautiful little passage. Memories of oil and blood haunt her rides. She patrols Kithkin lands driven by the fear of losing another down. Dune.
Vocab. We're great at it.
This is a dune, all right? It's a dune. What is a
Why?
dune and what is a clockin' Amy?
Villages. These are the towns that they live in. In the day, in Lorwyn, you have the Clockins, and then at night, the dunes.
The dunes. And Amy, what are the memories of oil?
Oh, that's the Phyrexian invasion. It hit hard in Lorwyn. And even on that first Kithkin we saw references to being woven back into the thought weft.
And the idea is when the Phyrexians invaded and they started completing these Kithkin, the echoes of Phyrexian propaganda, the kind of paranoia, spread through the thought weft. So it's sort of like this echoing voice that's trying to say, come join us. Forget the thought weft. There's an even stronger force that can bind you, and it's called Phyrexia.
Wow.
And so those Kithkin in Lorwyn purposely would sever themselves off. They'd say, enough, I don't want to harm my kinfolk. In Shadowmoor, that interplanar threat has made them go, no, we were kind of right to not trust people. Because somebody can attack you from literally anywhere.
All right, I do love the Kithkin, but let's show some cards that are another favorite creature type of mine. Let's talk about some elementals. Flamekin Guildweaver is an elemental that brings a treasure for good measure, while Flaring Cinder lets you cycle through your deck as you cast high mana value spells.
Elementals are the artisans of Lorwyn and Shadowmoor, either making cloth and goods or making weaponry to help encourage a bit of warfare among the others in Shadowmoor.
So for Guildweaver, we're seeing it weave this golden glow moth silk into golden threads. Golden threads are actually the currency of Lorwyn Shadowmoor.
And what's up with the Flaring Cinder being blue? That's new, right?
The Cinder originally were only native to Shadowmoor. They were these burnt out husks who wanted to destroy the world. Since then, the Phyrexian invasion has awoken something introspective. Rhymekin have emerged in a self-fulfilling, self-actualization process. So whereas the Flamekin are all about discovering the world around them, Rhymekin are all about discovering themselves.
Sometimes on these concept pushes, we have a design challenge that's so hard that none of us can solve it on our own. So we'll kind of like just Congo line it down with everyone taking a crack at the design until we get to the end. Then we kind of mash them all together and be like, oh, each of us did some good stuff and we put it together into one final design, which is what happened here.
So they're called Rhymekin. Are they cold to the touch or are they still like fiery hot?
So they burn coal. If you were to touch them, you would freeze. They thrive in colder weather, whereas Flamekin 100% want to be near warm volcanoes and whatnot.
I remember I did a pass it where there was a Ryan kid wearing like fur, and they're like, "This is great. We have ones that are blue and red. This is gonna burn." I was like, "Okay, well, next person."
I give up.
How do you put clothes on a person that's on fire? That is a question you have to answer.
Yeah. Welcome to concept art.
Up next, let's take a look at one of my favorite creature types of all time. It's a goblin, but however, they are known on this plane as a boggart.
Actually, it's pronounced boggart.
Gristle Glutton is a 2-mana goblin who can rummage for cards at the cost of a -1/-1 counter.
What is he eating?
Everything.
His opponents, clearly. Crunch and crack, gnaw and snap. Be the snacker.
Or be the snack. I've always said that.
Whoever wrote that is probably elated that you just said that out loud.
Yeah, rhyme in
crazy.
unison. It's a sing-songy, kind of dancey,
It's beautiful.
type of guy.
And he just looks so happy.
And he is, because he's trying something new. That's what the boggarts are all about. Especially in Lorwyn, you're looking to get new experiences, maybe exploring new places. And in Shadowmoor, sometimes that takes the form of violence and destruction, because that's new too. Have you ever smashed something with a baseball bat? Because it's a pretty great experience. 10 out of 10 would recommend.
The boggarts in Lorwyn, like you said, are trying new experiences through being apothecaries and going on adventures and being kind of devil may-care with their lives. The boggarts on the Shadowmoor side are definitely willing to risk their own lives and also the lives of everyone else around them, to the point where they're willing to hammer armor into their very bones just because it feels interesting.
I'm all for a looter, a little goblin rummager action. You know, you could tap this and blight. I guess it puts -1/-1 counters. I think thematically, obviously the Ludo narrative experience here is what Homeboy is eating. You ever just eat something that immediately triggers regret, anguish? That's my justification, is you blight yourself, you eat a snake, you eat some bones.
But it's worth it for the experience.
For the experience, exactly, yeah.
Discard a card, draw a card, right?
Yeah. Who
Like I
knows
always
what's coming
say.
up next? The best card to draw is the next one.
Designing the boggarts was interesting because they're so intrinsically kind of scary looking that it was hard to figure out how the Lorwyn and Shadowmoor different versions would look. So it kind of came down to a vibes-based mentality of these are the scary looking guys that are feeding frogs and nursing them back to health and trying new things that result in happiness and well-being. Boggarts on Shadowmoor's side are just I'm going to cause chaos.
All right, moving on from goblins, let's take a look at a peaceful, sleeping giant. Slumbering Walker is a 5-mana giant who enters with 2 -1/-1 counters. But at your end step, you can remove a counter from it to bring a creature back from the dead. This seems very powerful.
So the giants in Lorwyn Shadowmoor, regardless of whether or not they're in either aspect, are sleepers. They're heavy sleepers. In Lorwyn, that's sort of like a whimsical sleep. They'll sleep in their hoards and caves, and you can go rob them, and if they wake up, you're no more. In Shadowmoor, they sleep for so long, they become overgrown.
So there's plants and things that grow over the top of them, and you might be walking on a foothill and be like, is this a foothill or is that someone's foot?
Rebecca Green is a brand new illustrator for Magic, kind of in the realm of storybooks, books for children.
It shows this looks like a page from a storybook.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I know that was a big deal in the original Lorwyn Shadowmoor art direction. You're kind of in a fairy tale of sorts. What's it like onboarding new Magic illustrators?
Yeah.
When we get a set as classic as Lorwyn Shadowmoor, we get to reach out to artists that their style might not mesh with a main set, but for booster fun, it is absolutely perfect. And I think you can see it here. There's really nothing else that fits, right? You're just thinking storybook, bedtime story, fairy tale thing. Yeah, sign me up. That sounds exactly like Lorwyn Shadowmoor.
Well, speaking of fairy tales, we also have a creature type that aligns quite well with that. They're fairies.
Wow.
So let's see our next card. Flitterwing Nuisance is a 1-mana fairy with flying who enters with a -1/-1 counter. Later, that counter can be removed to turn a big attack into a full hand of cards. Oh man.
I love we got a freaky bug guy on a freaky bug.
And look at that art.
Yeah.
Wow, wait, did you say, wait, hang on, whoa.
I've
Evan
never
Fong?
seen.
Can we get her on the show?
Yeah, this was an interesting one for me because the fairies are my favorite creature type in the original Lorwyn because they are very fun to play and not fun for your opponent, but fun for you.
Right.
And the design of them, I think, is one of the most iconic designs in all of Magic. I like the insect base to them a lot, and I think that the body shapes of them are super, like, almost grotesque and interesting. So it was really fun for me to get to grab them and redesign them for Lorwyn and Shadowmoor. The Lorwyn fairies I kept pretty similar to the original ones that existed. They were just awesome, and I didn't really want to change anything. And for the Shadowmoor ones, I wanted to take the things about the Lorwyn fairies that were a little bit scary. So, for example, their body types, I exaggerated more into being kind of more skeletal, spindly, buggy, waspy. And I wanted to use the idea of their armor plating, the chitin that bugs have, and use that as literal armor. The limbs on them, instead of just being round and cute, have become very spiky. That's one of the things that I really was pushing for with the Shadowmoor fairies, to look scarier.
To your point about designing new creature types within the same archetype, like fairies look different on whatever plane you're on. These are distinct, beetle-like, insectoid, really, really striking.
It was really fun doing research for this because I got to go to a bug museum where my parents live and I'd take lots of really up-close, high-res photos of one specific wasp, and I think the docents were very curious about what I was doing.
Just like at the museum, like, I gotta
Literally.
zoom in on this bug. What are you doing?
The play group, we did a Lorwyn draft, and the blue-black fairies deck is the most annoying deck you could ever play against in any format in the history of the game. Just a bunch of 1/1 flyers for 1 will kill you.
Yeah, so annoying.
And that doesn't change between Lorwyn and Shadowmoor. Ultimately, they're a little bit crueler in Shadowmoor, and they're a little bit more lighthearted in Lorwyn, but they're still a jerk.
Times change, but some people don't, so.
Still jerks.
Yeah, still jerks.
Now, the final creature type that, of course, everyone is familiar with are the merfolk. We saw an example with Sig's Command, also known as the Marrow. Such a big part of Lorwyn. What's going on with them this plane?
The Marrow in Lorwyn Shadowmoor are defined by their love of commerce. They're mercantile, they trade with anybody. In Lorwyn, they're honest traders. They're trying to get the best deal and to connect people. On Shadowmoor, they're cutthroat.
Designing the Marrow was really interesting because Magic has so many different kinds of merfolk across planes, right? And you think of like the beautiful ones in the sea, like Kiora and things like that.
The medallions of fallen empires for us, you know, from way back when.
Way back,
Back in my day,
Back in my
fish
day.
looked like this.
Yeah.
They look like people.
So the designs of the Marrow in this set are based off of mostly catfish. So it was interesting trying to reinterpret things that exist in nature into Lorwyn, into our merfolk designs. For the Shadowmoor merfolk, something I was personally going for was having their design language be very evil looking, like kind of like lionfish, pointy and poisonous, and when you walk into their lair, all you see is like a mass of tentacles and spikes and little glowing eyes looking at you from the dark.
Now, those are the major creature types here on Lorwyn and Shadowmoor, but of course, those aren't the only ones that are living here. So let's take a look at a brand new mythic rare. It's Lockmare. Lockmare is a 2-mana horse serpent. It enters with 3 -1/-1 counters, which can be removed to draw cards or tap down and stun a pesky opposing creature.
This looks a lot like a Kelpie.
It is a Kelpie, Magic's interpretation of one at least. Anybody who's been familiar with the plane knows it's based in Celtic, Welsh, British Isles mythology. So taking a creature like a Kelpie and then reimagining it through Magic's lens is one of the opportunities we get when we get to delve deep into the source material and deep into the culture that inspired this plane.
So I have like a really bad joke to run by you guys.
Okay.
What do you call a long horse?
What is it?
It's a horse.
The Lockmare is pretty long. It's got a lot of curves to it. It's pretty long. Where'd Sam go? Sam from Mystic says, everybody, welcome back to the table.
All right, we're back. We're back. Okay. Chris Ron back at it again. Excellent renders, just masterful painters. Legacy artists have been working on Magic forever. I'm curious, actually, though. What did you mention this is?
Like Kelpie, they're like these river creatures and like lake creatures that will drown people. They'll lure you in, kind of like a siren, but with being a beautiful horse. And then, sorry, you're gone.
Oh, cool.
What is the serpent rep?
It's a symbiotic relationship. In Shadowmoor, there's no blessing without a blight.
Right.
So there's always something, there's some cost to be paid. It's sort of providing this negative -3/-3 counters. It's a horse, but it's also a serpent, and they don't like each other, but they can't live without each other.
It's kind of like me and Josh. All right, so that's the world and the denizens in Lorwyn Shadowmoor. But let's get into the story of Lorwyn Eclipsed. So we've already seen the elemental gods, Iridu and Isilyu, that have sort of been keeping things in balance, but there are more characters that are arriving on this plane. It's the accidental arrival of students from Strixhaven. I did not expect this.
They stumble into Lorwyn
Right.
Shadowmoor, a state where the elemental god Erdu is awake and spreading pockets of Lorwyn throughout this and kind of keeping the balance. There's too much Shadowmoor, as they would have it. They stumble upon the resting spot of Isilu and inadvertently wake it up. You're not supposed to have the sun and moon awake at the same time here. That's just not a good idea. You really can't control it, and a lot of things go awry because of it.
And leave it to a first year to cause the mayhem, right?
Undergrads.
Intro to
Undergrads.
They think they know how to party, they follow a fairy through a hole, and they end up doing this.
Whoops. Yeah. Speaking of which, we have one of the students to show you right now. It's Tam, Mindful First Year. Tam, Mindful First Year, grants all your other creatures hexproof from their own colors. Then she can be tapped to give a single creature all colors for near total immunity.
So I'm guessing from the colors that she's a Quandrix student?
She wants to be in Quandrix. That's her ultimate goal, and she's dealing in probability magic, something that a Quandrix mage would probably love to have at their disposal.
So they're not from the plane. What happens when these outsiders, the Strixhaven students, cross between Lorwyn and Shadowmoor?
If you are not native to the plane of Lorwyn Shadowmoor, you do not change as you cross over these borders. So, these students have a unique ability that no one else outside of Marlin and previously Una had, which, if you read our web fiction, will come up as a certain plot point that a character exploits for her game. I won't spoil it, but it's pretty nice.
Tasty.
You gotta read it.
Now, these Strixhaven students have thrown off the balance of this plane, but let's see exactly how that plays out and how it affects the denizens of Lorwyn Shadowmoor in a card. Darkness Descends. Darkness Descends is a 4-mana sorcery that puts 2 -1/-1 counters on everything, killing smaller creatures and leaving the rest withered.
Oh, as Isilu's moving across the plane, you can see it's changing these Kithkin from their Lorwyn to their Shadowmoor just in a moment.
Yeah, it seems like they're not expecting it either.
That's gotta be so weird to be like, you and who you are changes.
Does your Lorwyn self remember what your Shadowmoor self did?
So when you transition between your Lorwyn and Shadowmoor selves, your memories become sort of foggy and twisted. You might have had your whole childhood in Lorwyn. If you transitioned into your Shadowmoor self, you will remember a childhood, you will project that it was Shadowmoor. The real tragedy of this plane is that you can never know your full identity.
Sorry, babe, that's my Shadowmoor self.
Something that is very striking to me is the psychology of a plane like this. Like, it's framed as this lovely storybook setting where the sun is always out and the moon provides peace and it's a happy-go-lucky environment. But to me, the most striking part of the setting is what you just said. Your identity is not yours. It's dependent on a changing environment that also manipulates your own memory of yourself. And how that then changes your perception of your neighbor. I think this is the scariest card we saw in the whole card file. You can paint spooky merfolk and psychotic
Scary
goblins.
creatures,
But to me, this one is like, ooh, don't trust your neighbor. The narrative thrust of this card is horrifying in some ways.
I agree. There's a schism of the mind. This is a world that's deeply drenched in tragedy. By letting you see the self that you could have been, that's an identity question that you now have to confront. You almost want to see what is over that boundary. But as soon as you do, none of your questions are answered, and you have millions more.
It feels a little one-dimensional to consider the daylight is very nice and you're the good person over here, and you go, it's nighttime and you become the bad. Is it that simple, or is it much more, nuanced than that?
I think there's a little nuance, and you see it when we talked about the elves. We said, they were essentially eugenicists. They are evil people, and they are Lorwyn, but they value order. And Shadowmoor, and as a counterpart, is all about chaos. And there's beauty in that chaos. There's goodness, and there's heroics in that chaos. It's not evil. It's simply two sides of this coin that previously were flipping back and forth, but now we're seeing both of their faces front to back.
Well, speaking of seeing both sides of the coin, there actually are areas in this plane where both day and night are sort of vying for that same territory. So there's a brand new card that we're gonna look at here called Eclipsed Realms. Eclipsed Realms is a versatile land that enters untapped and can provide colored mana for the Lorwyn creature type of your choice.
We were just talking about how Lorwyn and Shadowmoor are different, but not good or evil, and I think the vibes of that are really captured in this piece.
Yeah, like the skies are splitting here, but the sun is still present.
The weird twisting trees for Shadowmoor and the lovely upright areas for Lorwyn.
These are realms that are created when Shadowmoor and Lorwyn are next to each other and grind and find a resolution. So they are both Lorwyn and Shadowmoor, so you'll see features of both. If you stay here, you become what is called a calciform creature. These are essentially creatures that have stayed in these realms too long and then been fossilized. They've been preserved in that state, and they're unable to escape from that.
There's also one very major story character that we haven't mentioned until now, and it's a fan favorite from original Lorwyn. Let's take a look at Marilyn, Fey Ascendant.
Marilyn, Fey Ascendant, is a legendary creature who uses her retinue of elves and fairies to steal cards from your opponent's decks and let you play them for free.
Yas, queen.
Steve Prescott, let's go.
Yeah, it's cool to see him doing cards for this set because he was one of like the spearheads of the original Lorwyn and Shadow War designs. Yeah, he did all the original like elf and fairy stuff that I love so much.
I noticed that she's an elf fairy now. She's not just an elf.
Marlin was originally a doppelganger of Una. Una was not just a manipulator, but also kind of the most powerful magical figure and a protector of sorts. After Una's downfall, Marlin was able to take up that mantle, but it changed her. So we see her become not just an elf, but also a fairy. And we can see flowers kind of blooming along the collar that are reminiscent of Una.
So she's immortal now?
Right, exactly.
That's got to be so strange considering how short-lived the elves are on Lorwyn. Imagine if you were like 300 years old and all your friends are gone and you're just like, yeah, this is weird. I don't like this. The kids use this different slang now.
Yeah. So this is a 5 mana, 4/5.
Very
if it was 1 or 2 power more,
Don't you dare.
Oh,
it would be like a
Don't
7
dare.
mana,
6,
6/7-ish kind of.
yeah.
Was that what you mean by slang?
Sam, you're killing me.
How sick is it that Una is kind of noticed and nodded to here? If you've played Lorwyn, that's one of the most striking illustrations from the original set.
This card is obviously extremely powerful, and Una, Queen of the Fae 2, was just one of those iconic early commander cards that could go infinite, just doing crazy busted things. So it's great to see that the power level here feels just as epic, sort of this, in Fae Ascendant.
We want you to be able to bridge the gap between your elf and fairy deck in a way that you didn't think was possible.
Right. It's gonna be a really fun deck building challenge, I think, for people.
And also, it's less than Una.
Yeah, wasn't she like an 8-drop?
Was it 8?
I think so.
It wasn't like 6 or 7.
Oh my god, not again!
Now, we've already mentioned the web fiction for this, which you should absolutely read, but let's see an incredible mythic that features a very major moment. This is Celestial Reunion.
Celestial Reunion is a powerful sorcery that can tutor a creature card to your hand or directly to the battlefield if you behold 2 creatures that share its type.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah,
One of the best pieces of art
That's
from the
so
set
gorgeous.
in a set that's stacked.
Wow, both sides of this too are so beautiful and so just really evocative. You got that storybook feel and also this more cartoony but like surreal look to it. Oh, it's amazing.
So this moment that it's depicting is at the end of the story, and I won't spoil too much. I talked about how there's only supposed to be one elemental god awake at any given time. They kind of had to resolve their tension because ultimately they're each one half of a whole. And so you can kind of see as they entwine their necks, their faces kind of form this eclipse. And hopefully informs your understanding of the set a little bit more.
A Lorwyn eclipse.
Eclipsed.
Oh, he said the name of the set.
Did the thing.
So this was really fun because it was a new challenge for us where it was designing completely new gods based loosely off of the existing stuff in Lorwyn. So the first thing we went to do when we were given this challenge of designing these gods was going through old Lorwyn art and being like, what was iconic here that we could use for god designs, right? And Revelark is one of the cards we found. It's like a flying creature just made of wings and made of a bunch of stuff that like is kind of unknowable. And we were like, that's really interesting. So the gods we started doing based off of like a bunch of wings, a kind of like dragon motif, and maybe like they could be the sun and the moon, like flying through the sky and have a lot of iconography because a lot of Lorwyn stuff is very based on icons and symbols. So Jesper's came together first, which is Erdu, the sun god. And it was this almost eagle, heron-like dragon floating through the sky. And then I thought if Aselu kind of crawled across the ground with many hands, it would be a really interesting motif to have that dichotomy. So I wanted to make him almost nightmarish because we were talking about how Lorwyn and Shadow War are not good and evil, but instead lawful and chaotic. So having a nightmarish creature that is very peaceful, who's peeking his head above the clouds and has all these graceful hands walking across the ground would be a good solve.
Yeah, you can just really feel the elegance that they both have in different ways. And I love that sort of like the crawling across the ground with the many hands.
I have a bunch of photos of me on the floor of Jesper's studio.
Those are reference photos.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. Reference photos.
Yeah.
When designing gods for a plane that didn't have them, The one thing that we had to do, which Jesper and you did incredibly, is they had to be just as unknowable as the elementals that they were gods of. And so I think the facelessness, the weird proportions, the sense that you could never talk to it is really important.
Evan, it's so cool that you got to hang out with Jesper in Denmark, right?
it was really fun.
Did you guys end up playing a lot of Commander games?
Of
on the
course,
side?
yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, how many did you win?
I think like 2 out of like 8. Which is a pretty good ratio for me, yeah.
Yeah, Jesper does not lose very often.
Yeah, he taught me how to play, actually, when we were working together during another Magic push. And every night he would just beat me over and over again. And I think that's part of the reason I'm so hardcore about Commander now, is that I'm tired of losing.
So did you say you won 2 out of 8? So he won about 6 or 7?
Oh my God.
Let's go. That's my line.
Let's go.
Oh, amazing. So between the art and the story, you can really just see how much love there is for original Lorwyn and also just that classic Magic feel. And before we get out of here, we have 2 more very cool references, including one that I think is a contender for best card in the set. But before we get to it, I know fans.
Tease us, Jimmy.
Sorry, it's my job. This is a card that I think many Magic fans are going to be especially excited about. It is Glister Baron.
Glister Baron is a 5-mana 1/4 that can grow another creature in combat based on how many colors you have on your board.
Oof, that's a cutie.
Niels Hamm, the German legend. When we think about Niels and Magic, so many of his paintings are very macabre and sinister and like eerie and unnerving. But he is also another artist that does a lot of fables and children's stories. A lot of his personal work is in this realm.
This feels like his pet creature.
Yeah.
So I have the fortune to write a lot of art descriptions. So I'll send an artist here's what you should draw. Niels emailed my art director back and said, I'm just gonna do what I wanna do with this one.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, if Niels tells you to do that, you just let it happen.
Wait, we're allowed to do that? Just ignore what they say and just email back, I'm gonna do what I think I should paint.
If you're Niels Hamm, yes.
I love that they had the same artist do every Baron we've seen.
Yeah.
Always the same guy making these weird little dudes in their costumes holding glowing things. I don't know what's going on with
That's
them.
the art description that.
We
also have another somewhat nursery rhyme in the flavor text.
That's right. Together,
Should we?
we'll leave this one here,
And that one there.
then wait and see.
Who comes to share?
Beautiful.
All right, we have one more card to show off today. I teased it at the beginning of the video. I think it's the haymaker of the set, and I stand by it. Let's take a look at Spinerock Tyrant.
The dreadful Spinerock Tyrant is a 5-mana 6/6 dragon whose powerful ability allows you to copy all of your single target spells while also giving those spells wither.
It's awake and it's angry.
Yep.
So Spinerock Knoll, I think, is a card that a lot of people are familiar with. And is Spinerock Tyrant the dragon on the mountain?
Yeah.
That's the intent. That's the intent here. So it's a callback, but also standalone, you can't help but love a dragon, right?
Oh yeah, especially
my rule.
someone that's as powerful as this one.
I mean, just stats-wise, you got a 5-mana 6/6, but it's also got Wither.
And it doubles spells and it gives the spells wither?
Giving spells wither, I think might be the most novel line of text. I remember when my lead designer put that into the file, I thought, I gotta have this card right now.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of anything that deals with -1/-1 counters, and this is going to be so good with the Scorpion God.
Oh yeah.
I forgot I had to look at the card file. Yes, there's precedence for dragons
Yeah.
on Lorwyn. The alternate art treatment here by Danny Schwartz jumps out at me because visually it's kind of in the line with fairies and merfolk and everything we've been discussing. It doesn't look like any other dragon on any other plane.
Yeah, one of the things that we wanted to do, just like with Lochmere earlier, is provide like a twist. And so we actually attached images of Irish wolfhounds to inspire the head shape of this dragon. Just to give it that British Isles flavor while still keeping it in the realm of like, you see it and you know it's the most cool dragon you've ever seen.
That is a very cool dragon. I love the like bursting free, because you mentioned before, it's the knoll. It's sealed within this mountain until it turns into Shadowmoor. The people on Lorwyn, they've never seen a dragon. They don't even know that dragons exist.
They just think it's a carving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't wait to cast a lightning bolt with this creature out.
I can't wait to cast a mind rot with this out.
I can't wait to cast Time Stretch with this out.
Okay, yeah, you win, Sam. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us on this special inside look into the world of Lorwyn and Shadowmoor. A big thank you to our guests for getting to talk about all these cool new cards today. We've got more previews headed your way this week, so stay tuned. And if you want to pre-order this awesome set, make sure you head on over to that product page. And we'll see you next time.
Lorwyn Eclipsed. In stores January 23rd.